So, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Sam from Team Samurai X1 here. Today, who am I with?
Jesse Cotton.
Jesse, how you doing today, bro?
All right, how about you, Sam?
I'm doing great. Okay, Jesse, I know you're the master behind this deck right here. What deck are we profiling today?
Drytron.
Drytrons? Okay, so with the last ban list on Ben 10 getting destroyed, how come this deck hasn't been played anymore?
Lost consistency and long game and power. I mean, not just Ben 10, Union Carrier as well. It's huge.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with the release of Lightning Overdrive, what are your thoughts on this deck?
So actually there are 3 cards, not just 2, that really help this deck out. And I think it is a tier 1 deck now. It depending as the format shift, it will probably be the best deck. Because I think as people are starting to play out the Tri-Brigade deck, this deck murders all those mid-range deck like Eldritch and Tri-Brigade. So that's so if those decks increase popularity, this deck thrives. Even though it's like still good against other decks as well.
Right.
I think it is definitely a tier 1 deck though that you'll have to watch out for.
100%. What's the deck's weakness? Like, what's the best deck against this deck?
You have to flood it out, so you can't use removal against this deck. Like that's Eldritch's biggest problem. So people may know that I played like this very floodgate toxic build of Eldritch to counter this deck.
Right.
Where I've also gone on record saying Eldritch is the easiest matchup. That's because the Eldritch deck I built to counter Drytron was so many floodgates, like Inspector Border, Goes and Match, Skill Drain, Rivalry, like everything, that it was just you can't play.
Right.
So that's how you like effectively deal with the deck. Not those just those floodgates. Like if you're playing a Winded deck, that is probably the best floodgate against it.
Right.
Oftentimes negates isn't often enough. Like against Dragon, like you will still win all the time if you full Dragon combo, but there are a good amount of games where this deck actually can break through it. Wow. And that's even without stuff like Dark Ruler, which you do play, which makes it instantly broken.
Like, okay.
Because the removal isn't very good against this deck, because the deck doesn't care about the monsters in the field as much. So the Erratic Seal and the Dragon Maid Tiding, those decks put up, not a big deal.
Not a big deal. So the best way to beat this deck is flood it out.
Flood it out, yeah, that's the best way. Otherwise, it can be kind of an uphill battle.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why Droll before was such a huge card, because it floods it out.
Okay. Does Droll still hurt this deck right now?
Oh, yeah, a lot.
Okay, destroys it. Okay, all right, cool. Let's start with the deck profile, Jesse.
Sure. So for the Drytron names, we got 3 Alpha, 3 Zeta. These are the most important, obviously. This is just +1 without having any additional setup. And then I got 1 Beta and 2 Gammas. I'm going a little heavier into Gamma this time, because it's 1 card, Beta Fafnir. It's easy to trigger the rank 1 Beta Fafnir as and it's easier to trigger that than Union Carrier was to get the send. So that's why I'm leaning more in that direction. And it also means with, I guess, more awareness on this deck, there's going to be more Droll and Lockbirds.
Right.
And Gamma is kind of critical to playing them through Droll, because you can still end on stuff like IP with monsters for either Napolese or Unicorn play, or even a couple other options that I don't play or that I would side. So not in the main deck here, and I'm not going to show you a side, but I'll mention afterwards.
Right.
So one thing to note is I'm not main decking the other one, the 5th one, because there's not much banishing in the form right now. The Beta Rastabon, it returns banished ones. I do think the card is decent, but I think the relevance of the Drytron names has gone down a little bit, leaning a little more into the fairy aspect.
Right.
And also, because you're not expecting to get Hiqueroed on your monsters as much, there's not as much Eldritch.
Right.
You're not returning banished cards to the grave, so not in there for now, but it could be, depending on how the format progresses.
Okay, nice.
So that's for the Drytron effect monsters. We got the fairies now, the 3 Diviner Heralds.
Okay, how good is this card, Jesse?
So this card is good. I actually wouldn't call it broken. People may think it seems really good, but you have to keep in mind, you're not going to be using the tribute effect, because you can't use the Drytron to say that you can only special summon monsters that cannot be normal summoned or set.
Right.
So you pretty much can't use it with Herald of the Diviners. You can't use that effect. But otherwise, it's like a Manju with a big difference. It can also send other fairies that get effects like Eva or Elder Antithesis, which is pretty good for removal.
Right.
And it can level manipulate, and it's a tuner. So while yes, that is important, and it makes it significantly better than Manju. And then it's an Eva target. You can search with Eva. It is significantly better than Manju. It is not extremely revolutionary. It's a very good card, but it is not this broken thing that'll ruin Yu-Gi-Oh!
Right, okay, question. Do you play Needle Fiber in this deck? Or Hulk?
I do not, because remember, you can't summon anything off Hulk of Fibrax unless it can't be normal summon under set. And there are very few targets that you can, one of them being Gamma, because it can't be normal summon under set, but I don't want to summon a Gamma off Hulk of Fibrax.
Right.
And oddly enough, like, you actually can't Gamma Droll in this deck, because you can't summon the Driver, because Driver can be normal summon under set. Right. It's really funny, you can actually Gamma on your own turn. So it loses a lot of the appeal that it would have. Yeah, so no Hulk Fibrax.
Nice. Okay, so Triple Herald.
I'm playing Triple Lancia. This is probably the most questionable choice in the deck. I just like having more fairies that Orange Light's live as a hand trap. So is Ultimateness as extra material there. It's searchable, and this card is pretty good. It stops Levianeer, so it always trades at least 1 for 1 against Dragon, potentially ending the turn if they're relying on the baby dragons.
Right.
Versus Tri-Brigade, which is going to be very popular, is very good. Obviously can't use any of those Tri-Brigade effects, meaning the field is going to be pretty minimal. Like, if they end on a Drytron, this deck literally does not care.
Yeah.
So, that's good. And Invoked, you just hit the invocation, and they're pretty good. It stops Maxima stuff, that's kind of falling out of popularity. So, Lancia is pretty good. It is arguable, but it being a fairy means it has so many other synergies with the deck that it's probably worth it anyways.
Right.
One Eva, you can play 2 of this now because there's more ways to get to it, which I'll show in the extra deck. But I still like 1 because it is not great to draw and you can just search it. 3 orange, nothing's changed there. No purple because now you have a new second target for Eva, and that's the triple diviner. You can argue that purple's still good to stop trap cards, but right now there's not that much of that in the format. You can't really stop Schism if there's a meltdown on the field because of that way that works, which is really annoying.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the big one you want to stop Window coming out. And Revolt is field removal, so again, it's not that important for you to negate. So you can maybe side Purple Light, but not right now. Not in the main deck for sure.
Right.
Those are the fairies. And then the ritual monsters, I got 3. No Natasha in here because...
Ben 10's that one? Is that why?
Yeah, you don't want to banish it. You can play I to 10, which lets you add back ritual spell, which is like okay, and then you can play Natasha. It's just very average. You can also play Perfection instead of this because it's level 6, which can come up for some extra deck plays later. I still like this card even though people don't, just because it's another card you can send with New Beta Fafnir. It's another boss monster. Also pairs well with this because it just it gives you negates and removal, which is really important with the diversity in your field. And you can also pair really well with New Beta Fafnir because this White Control Machine ritual. This card becomes a Xian, so why not?
Well,
yeah. So I think it's still very good. Also, having a searchable machine ritual monster, so that you contribute for Medianus to bring back a Ben 10 or Perfection, or Ultimateness. Yeah. So those the monsters. And now if we get into the spells, I got 5 Novas here. 2 Fafnir, 3 Nova, but this is pretty much just Nova.
why not 3 Fafnir?
Yeah, so I was playing 3 before, but honestly, I hadn't refined the deck as much. I do prefer 5. If you've watched any of my instructional videos, then you'll know that I believe typically when you only want to see 1 copy of a card, you play 5. And there's a mathematical reason behind this, which you can inquire about later, but it's a bit complicated. I don't want to talk about it now. Long story short, is it derivatives or first differences, second differences. So yeah, if you only want to draw 1 copy of a card, no more, no less in your hand, then 5 is the ideal number. There are always other factors at play to maybe change that decision, but for that, 5 is the magic number. Yeah.
All right, cool.
And then other consistency cards, 3 Prosperity. This deck isn't super extra deck heavy, so this card's really good. 3 Emergency, because why wouldn't we play a Rhoda? And then I'm playing Extra Foolish instead of Prep, because there are less ritual cards in this deck, where the Extra Foolish gives you option of going Entasys instead, so it's removal as well. And also just search the ritual spell directly from your deck, which can be kind of important. So yeah, playing that instead of that, and then the 1 ritual spell. I still don't like playing multiple cards. It's not good to draw. You can always get it anyways. And Dark Ruler, I think this is the best utility card because it hits statues, it hits windows, it hits dragon fields, hits the mirror match. I just think that if you want to play with the utility card in a combo deck, this is the one I want to play.
Okay, so this deck is obviously designed to go first, but you know,
absolutely.
But Dark Ruler no more, obviously.
You want to have you want to have something. And it also helps with Prosperity as well. Like if it's not in a gate type of field, it's a floodgate type of field, which is what you're trying to do.
Right.
Then it means you have Prosperity plus Dark Ruler to see it out, which is good.
No other hand traps other than Lancia and Herald.
Yeah, I mean it's 6 hand traps.
And then the 3 Dark Ruler,
I don't like playing a lot of hand traps in combat because then you're not actually doing your combo. You need to make sure you're drawing consistently.
Exactly. Okay, awesome. Let's go on to the extra deck.
Sure. So you have the Elder Entity Entasys.
Yep.
It just pops a card. It is also a fairy, so you can send this with Diviner.
Yeah.
Pretty good. And then obviously the Arc Lights, which you're going to send with Herald. So it's pretty good. And then the level modulation plus a tuner opens you up to Black Rose plays. This can help you with breaking fields because Herald becomes a 6. Herald the Diviners, and then any Drytron becomes the Rose. There are other options you can do with Herald, which I can talk about briefly afterwards. But these are the only synchros I play. I don't think they're that good, the synchro options. Karibo for when you go Drytron Nova and need to put a card in grave. Masquerena for your end fields is pretty good. Lina, so this is actually the third card that really helped this deck. I think it's very underrated. I mean, obviously people know that it's a good card, but
its
implications kind of aren't fully realized yet.
Yeah.
So one thing is the Dragon Field is...
like you crashed to this, right?
Well, they're going to use Hermetic Seal, right? And normally this card's not great because you can't summon monsters that can't be normal summoned.
Right.
But when they use Hermetic Seal, you make this, take the Hermetic Seal, and you make Access Code.
Wow.
So this really helps with beating their field. They have to be very diligent that this can just crack it pretty easily.
Yeah.
Very, very, very strong card. Also, even the mirror, when your opponent ritual summons like an ultimateness and it goes to the grave, you can bring it back.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Very good card. Also searches any of your Drytrons, I'm pretty sure. It also searches Orange Light. It can't search Lancia, but yeah, very, very, very good card.
Exactly. Amazing.
I think it's my favorite card in the set.
Card's really good.
Nightmares, big fan of these, obviously. Appaloosa to give you some backup plan versus Troll and Lockbird, and just general negate.
Yeah.
Access Code Talker, I sold it a couple days ago, so sorry guys. But yeah, you do want this here to crack fields, and obviously it synergizes really well with Lina. Yeah, good card. Then for the XYZs, the rank 1s, I got New Beta Fafnir.
Okay, so what does this card do?
So when it's summoned, you can send any Drytron card from your deck to your grave, so...
Just foolish.
Phenomenal. And then when you want to ritual summon, you can detach the appropriate materials from here instead. So
that's crazy.
Brings back cards as well. And then if you control a machine ritual monster, you can once per turn detach to negate any spell trap.
So shit.
Yeah, very good card. It's 2k as well, which is nice because it's a big rank 1. It's generic as well, so you can use it with Eva, or if you play Droll or Veiler, you can also use those to make this as well.
Amazing.
So it's a very flexible card.
Wow.
I didn't have space to play the Lyralisca that attacks directly.
Oh, okay.
So this is one I play for use instead, other than the Fucho. You can play 2 with this. If you're playing Ida 10, you do want to play 2, because Ida 10 lets you add back Ritual when it's summoned. So what you can actually do with that is you can summon the Ida 10, or when you have this in the field, detach bring back to the Ida 10, add back the Ritual spell with Ida 10's effect, not its own, and then kind of infinitely do that, where detach material, bring back Ida 10, add it back, and keep making the Mubeta Fafnirs and rank 6s and link monsters. You can flood the field pretty fast. My theory, though, is that you've probably already done enough at that point to win the game, so any further is kind of unnecessary. Which is why I don't have it in there. And if you're not playing that, you probably don't need one. So the Fucho, I think these 2 rank 1s just will pretty much guarantee your uses live.
Yeah.
This, especially now with Dryden again in the format, weirdly. Last time was Eldritch Zoo, now it's Tri-Brigade Zoo.
Yeah.
This
really
they often put Dryden in defense because it's going to be like almost nothing, 0 attack, and this just says hi, and
hi Zeus.
Hi Zeus. It's very hard to deal with.
Hi Zeus.
Yeah, and
of course
Zeus, and the last card in the extra deck is Beatrice.
Why?
Because Herald becomes level 6.
Oh.
So this plus other 6s, which I guess in this deck is just the Ben 10, but another like Ida 10 is a 6 as well. It can send other Drytron names, it can send Ava, and post side you can do some cool stuff as well. So something you can do is send Necroworld Banshee, which lets you activate Zombie World from the deck. And the really nice thing about that is you can send a Drytron on your turn, and then your opponent's turn send the Banshee. So it means it's still an extender and then an interrupt as well, which is exactly what you want in a card. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And the Banshee actually fits another role. You often, when playing these combo decks, want to build backup plans.
Yes.
So backup plan to Droll is a big one for this deck, but another huge one is Darkroller no more.
Yeah.
So you already kind of have that built in. You're going to have Orange plus Ava as your way to prevent Darkroller from blowing you out.
Right.
This is another backup plan. So if Orange Ava is not as good versus the deck, then this pretty much means you have a zombie rolled up. So versus Dinos, for example, they can't miss. It's pretty hard.
Yeah, and
versus Dragons, no Striker Dragon or Hermetic Seal. They pretty much only have one generic Link monster that's Link 2, and that is either Hulk of Fibrex or the Protector Whelp. And they're kind of hard for them to use in a real fashion. They have to pretty much get to Levianeer.
Yeah.
And that involves, you can't make Rhymus because to search Ravine.
Yeah.
They can't make LP to search like Rotar. So it's pretty hard for them to do it. Their best answer, like I guess also they can go Dragon Maid, the Dragon Maid to search Tiding and then wait a turn, but waiting a turn versus deck is not a good idea. You will likely just die.
And you lose,
So yeah, and then versus Tri-Brigade as well, it changes the graveyard, so they can't banish their guys for Tri-Brigade effects.
Yeah.
But also, the Tri-Brigades also say, after you use their effects, they can only link summon using Beast Warriors, Beasts, or Winged Beasts. So can't link summon, can't use their effects. If they are playing the Zoo version, they do have the Zoos to out it. But if you can check the Zoos, and it should be enough to win the game. Or if they're not playing the Zoo version, pretty rough.
Right.
And so that is a good backup option. Again, not main deck worthy because it's really just there for Dark Blue no more.
Right.
And unless a lot of people start making Dark Blue no more, it's just strictly when you go first, post side. But I still want to let you guys know. Some other cool things you can do with Herald that I don't have in here right now is you can make Ultimate to Zulkin because it's a 6 tuner, and then plus a Ben 10 or Herald's Perfection or an Ida 10 is also a 6, and then that can turn into some cool stuff as well. Crystal Wing. Trying to think what else is really good. There's not many other good level 8 synchros right now, which is why I kind of steer away from it.
Right.
Like Crystal Wing is kind of very single layer, like it's pretty easy to beat if you know if your deck like is kind of built in a way around it. But also you're gonna have Ultimate or Perfection anyways.
Yeah.
So Crystal Wing doesn't actually help that. Yeah, that's why we don't play maximum copies of that. You don't want to draw multiple.
Okay.
So
how good is this hand?
It's good. I want to see if I can play on draw. So I'm gonna get a fairy in my hand first. This is live. I'll probably get Ultimateness over Ben 10. I think I can still do my combo perfectly fine. But this way I don't have to discard the Ben 10 if there's a draw here. It's a lot safer, I think. Because I'm doing this as well, this means my Diviner can search the ritual spell. So I might just get, I think, Delta off of this. I think that's fine. And then I can tribute the Delta here to get the Ben 10. And then I can tribute this Ben 10 out for the Delta. I gotta draw a card. So what do I get? Diviner. Okay. So I guess I'll search Ava. If there's really anything would have been good. Like Dark Ruler is actually the only bad card in your deck. Or I guess another Nova.
Yeah.
But a lot of options. It really doesn't matter.
So you're searching Ava off Ben 10?
Yes. Doesn't matter if I Fafnir first. I guess not. I'll just do this.
So normal Herald?
Yeah, and send the other Heralds.
Wow. So basically the Ben 10 going to 1 doesn't really do anything.
It does, because now if I want to Benton again, I'll have to Ritual Summon it back.
I see.
Because I already, like, if I didn't draw this, I would have searched this later by bringing it back and doing it again. Now I can search a Lancia instead. I can find the Ritual Spell. There we go.
Okay.
Put it there's fine.
Does zones matter?
Not really, but I'm playing upside down, so I want to make sure
It's okay.
I just don't want to make a dumb mistake. I don't want Zeta, so I'm sending Gamma here. I don't want the Ritual Monster either.
So you dump Gamma to the grave.
Yeah, so I can detach here, bring out the Ben 10. Do I want to add back now, or no? I'll add back on the Ben 10 or on the Gamma here. Bring these back.
You get to search again.
Yeah, the Ben 10. I'll search. Lancia again. Like you have level 6 here, so you can make. This is where you could like make a Chaos Roar or an Omega or Shooting Riser Dragon. There's stuff you can do. I just don't think it's really necessary because this is plenty as is. So now I'll reduce this by 1,000 to get this back. So I want to make a Karibo here. Or wait, I'll do that after. Or I forget. IP I can't use. Yeah, 2 non-links. So I'd rather have the IP, I guess. I already have Lancia for Dino. So sorry. The reason I was thinking about the Karibo there was again, if you're playing against Dinosaur, you want to have a Karibo in grave because it tributes Lost World token. But I can't make IP if I make Karibo in the grave, so I'm gonna not do that. I may still make a Karibo anyways, but it won't be in the graveyard. I am just going to Ritual, I can detach again. And summon this from the hand, so this is a little inefficient. You want to summon from the grave, you're wasting a card in theory with this. But the reason I'm okay with it is because it gave me a lot of leeway to play around stuff with this. It's fine. So technically the combo, if you were not playing on hand trap, would be a little stronger, but not what I'm going for here. I'm going for safe. Safe and still strong. So here I'm going to turn this into Karibo now. So something else you can do cool with Shooting Riser Dragon as an option is if you're playing the Necrolt Banshee, you can send that to the grave off Riser instead, and it would become level 3 because it loses the levels, and then you synchro on your opponent's turn. So you can then use, like if you have these, you could use the level 3 Riser, so use this Riser and then level 3 plus 1 make Arclight. So you would have had another Arclight, and then Arclight dies for its own effect to negate. You add a Ritual Spell Trap, so yeah. Similar to link the last 2 monsters away for Masquerena. So this can turn into, obviously you got the Apo, or the Unicorn, or theoretically could be anything else as well. Oh, maybe actually I like this play. I'm gonna link these 2 away now and make Lina. Because Lina floats, but also now I have the Karibo and Grave against
Dinos?
Yes, actually, I think this might be better because this is kind of done now.
So this is playing around hand traps.
This was playing around hand traps because I had this in hand the entire time with this, and I originally summoned this from the hand. It could have just been in the grave, would have been the same thing.
Right.
And if I had to use this, I would have just searched another orange light instead of the Plancia. The reason you want to search an orange light plus Ava is again to get Dark Rulered. If you don't get Dark Ruler, this is really good. If you get Lost Worlded, you can either use the Masquerade to get rid of it, or bring it back with this. Like obviously this deck just destroys Dino because they can't, or this hand would, because they play around this, play around this, play around this, play around this, play around this. They're not doing that.
Exactly. So is ultimate unlimited negates as long as you have fairies?
Yeah, so this is gonna have in theory 5 negates because you could discard this depending on, like, if you're not playing against a deck that plays banished cards, you can just discard it, which is why it's completely fine to add. And you don't really want to use unless you have to, because then you don't search off this. But you can do this, and then searches 2 more banishing fairies, so just banish the monster, effect monsters, these don't matter. And then you add 2 with different names.
Wow.
And its follow-up as well. We already used the Perfection, or Arclight, because of Extra Foolish, but you could have, if you played 3 Arclights, or if you hadn't done that, Arclight for Drytron name, and that would have been a way to start triggering your Drytrons again, or this can get a Drytron to trigger your Drytron names again, but you'll also have this. So you have a lot of ways to keep playing. You do always want to make sure when you do these combos, leave yourself a good way to keep playing on the next turn.
Like have a follow-up. Yeah,
so if you don't have a monster to tribute for your Drytrons to start cycling, it's kind of annoying. You can tribute this, but you want to keep this in the field to make sure your plays got through, because you'll kill them easily, but sometimes they can have some stuff. This just guarantees that they can't play.
Exactly.
Yeah, so this hand is fine. I would just do this no matter what I draw pretty much, and then Drytrons will swarm the field, and they will be done for.
Okay, awesome. Okay, guys, so this was a combo playing around Drow and Lockbird.
Any hand trap, right?
Well,
any monster hand trap. Imperm wouldn't have done that much versus...
Jesse, thank you so much for this deck profile, man. Anything else you want to say before we end on this video?
Shout outs to Duelist Academy, where you can get coaching from me and other pro players. I unfortunately am full now on students, but openings do sometimes come up. We also post content, we stream, and we have a Discord where we can interact with people as well. I frequently, when I'm invested in a deck, will post in deck-specific Discord groups we have.
Yeah.
On the whole server. Like I remember people went into my Ogdo Attic deck that I made. The entire time while I was building it, I was uploading my process to that Discord so people could build along with me. So it was there, it was in public, but you have to be part of the Discord. Okay, awesome, guys. Check out Duelist Academy in the description box below. And Jesse, thank you so much for this deck profile. Are you gonna be playing this deck in tournaments, do you think? Yeah, well, I don't plan to enter anything until the YCS. And in theory, it could be a ban list. So I'm not gonna say anything yet because who knows? Right. But probably. Okay, all right, guys. This is your boy Sam and Jesse signing out. All right, guys. Peace.